What's going on today? Well, today we've got something special for you. We are going to do a little bit of a test, a little challenge for you, if you will. We're going to pit some of our favorite classic lenses, Summicron Cs and Zeiss CP2s, versus some lesser known lenses like the Clavius and one of our new favorites, the Cooke SP3s. We're going to pit them against each other, but the real test of this is, can you spot the clinical lens? It has often been said that the Zeiss CP2 is one of the most clinical lenses. People talk trash on it all the time. Don't believe me? There you go. Here's the break. You have probably heard people talk about how clinical a lens is, specifically the Zeiss CP2 lenses. So while we were doing a lens test for an upcoming project, we decided to make something a little bit special for you all, and that is to say we tested the CP2s in the mix with some other more, quote, less clinical lenses. More less clinical? Whatever that works for you. But these are allegedly less clinical lenses. So in our lens test, we have 4 total lenses. We have Zeiss CP2s, which we own. We've had them for years. They're workhorse lenses. I agree with that statement. But we also went ahead and packed in the Summicron Cs, which are very expensive, very nice pieces of glass. Clavius lenses, which are rehoused Helios lenses. You've seen other videos. We've talked about those before. And the Cooke SP3s. Now, this was all shot on the Sony FX6. We also have a Super 35 test that was shot on a Blackmagic Ursa G2. That'll come out later. But these 4 lenses were all shot on the FX6. And so what we're going to do is compare those lenses and see if you can spot the Zeiss CP2. That's the fun part, right? It's also super informative. So hopefully you learn tons about some lenses, and maybe it'll help you or inform you on your next lens selection. So what is exactly a clinical lens? Well, a clinical lens is often described as being super sharp, very precise, and ultra neutral. It's like the lens isn't really adding any, quote, character of its own to the image itself. It captures exactly what's in front of it, and some people love it while other people call it sterile, and they call it too clean or whatever. I've also heard some people say that Zeiss CP2 lenses are cold when they're referring to them as clinical. Now, as soon as a lens is cold and not neutral, I would argue it takes it away. I'd also argue that a clinical lens could be the very characteristic you want. So arguably, just trashing a lens because you read it on the internet saying it's clinical may not work. However, I do agree, some of these lenses in this test shocked me because I frankly forgot the order when I put this video together, and I had to go back and remind myself because I was even confused on what was what. One of them was obvious, but the other 3 were very challenging. So what we want to do is, can you spot that clinical look? It's talked about online a ton, right? So if you can spot the clinical look, good for you. But let's just see if we can find, and we're using the Zeiss CP2 to be the clinical, let's just see if we can find that clinical lens, especially when you're mixing in some heavy hitters. First things first, let's look at some charts. So here are the charts, no color grade added to it. These are straight from the camera. Here's the charts, and we're gonna use a 50mm lens or equivalent. In the case of the Clavius, they use a 58. So here are the charts. as I mentioned, we are shooting full frame on the Sony FX6, and what you're gonna see is the same scene. So what we've done is we took and shot a narrative sequence, and hooray for the actors for doing this. We literally shot the same scene again and again and again. It was a ton of setups. But what we're able to do is shoot each scene with each lens set. So you're gonna see the scene 4 times. I do apologize for the audio. We weren't perfect at it. We were focused more on the lenses. So there might be some spots where I had to dub in some audio. It's fine. Doesn't affect the quality of the lens. Certainly if we're focused on the audio, not the lens, then I failed in this video test anyway. But point being, we're gonna compare all 4 lenses and you'll see them in order. They're labeled on the bottom A, B, C, and D, as we like to do. And your job will be to, if you would like to, attempt to pick out which one of these is the Zeiss CP2, right? So let's check out this narrative scene. It's a little short film. Here we go.
Relax, Jack. You don't need to draw any more attention.
Who are you? How did you find me?
Finding you isn't the hard part. Keeping them off your trail is.
So you've been looking for me too? What do you want?
I'm here to keep you alive for now.
I don't know who you are, but I'm done trusting strangers.
You don't have much of a choice. Like, let's just say we have common enemies. So finish your drink and then slip out through the kitchen.
If this is a setup, I'll make sure you regret it.
I'm counting on it. Relax, Jack. You don't need to draw any more attention.
Who are you? How did you find me?
Finding you isn't the hard part. Keeping them off your trail is.
So you've been looking for me too? What do you want?
I'm here to keep you alive for now.
I don't know who you are, but I'm done trusting strangers.
You don't have much of a choice. Let's just say we have some common enemies. Finish your drink and then slip out through the kitchen.
If this is a setup, I'll make sure you regret it.
I'm counting on it. Relax, Jack. You don't need to draw any more attention.
Who are you? How did you find me?
Finding you isn't the hard part. Keeping them off your trail is.
So you've been looking for me too? What do you want?
I'm here to keep you alive for now.
I don't know who you are, but I'm done trusting strangers.
You don't have much of a choice. Let's just say we have common enemies. So finish your drink and then slip out through the kitchen.
If this is a setup, I'll make sure you regret it.
I'm counting on it. Relax, Jack. You don't need to draw any more attention.
Who are you? How did you find me?
Finding you isn't the hard part. Keeping them off your trail is.
So you've been looking for me too? What do you want?
Here to keep you alive for now.
I don't know who you are, but I'm done trusting strangers.
You don't have much of a choice. Let's just say we have common enemies. So finish your drink and then slip out through the kitchen.
If this is a setup, I'll make sure you regret it.
I'm counting on it.
So the next test that we did was a docu-style test, meaning we just shot like B-roll not behind the scenes, but more like, just B-roll from a documentary style shoot. So in this instance, same thing, we used all 4 lenses, lit the scene, and shot it that way. We shot one neutral and one color. Let's take a look at those and see if you can spot the CP2 in that. it's time to reveal the lenses. So what I'm going to do is put up a quad box here with the letters on it, so they're all kind of playing for you, and you can see if you got it. So again, A, B, C, or D. Here's the reveal. Here's what we got. A. A is the Clavius lens. Pretty interesting. That's the one that I felt like had the most character. If we're going to talk about character, it was softer on the edges. It just looked really great. Now, I will tell you guys and gals, for the Super 35 test, because it was PL based only, we tested the Clavius lenses against the Summicrons. That is a really telling test. That is absolutely insane too. I can't wait to post that video. It's really fascinating to see how these two lenses compare on Super 35. Again, I've said this before, I feel like cameras have become film stocks and lenses are just a way to make those stocks, accentuate those stocks of the word. They're the seasoning on the stock. So it is very exciting to see that. But again, letter A is the Clavius. Letter B, if you guessed that was the Zeiss CP2, well, guess what? You guessed absolutely wrong. That is actually Summicron Cs. So letter B is the Summicron C lenses, which I find very fascinating. This is one of the ones where it got confusing. Now, letter C and D feel very similar to me in a lot of ways. And this is one of the spots where I got really confused. I genuinely could not remember in which order I put it. So that means that I'm going to tell you that letter C stands for Cooke. Yes, letter C is the Cooke lenses. I was shocked at how clean they were and how sharp. By the definition we said earlier of clinical lenses, these are on the verge of that. Even though they quote have the Cooke look, I still felt like these were very close to it. That means letter D is the Zeiss CP2. So if you guessed letter D, fantastic, congratulations. You did an excellent job spotting those lenses. But I do think this whole test was very important and it's very relevant and it's very interesting. Just the idea that these four lenses, minus the Clavius, so these three sets of lenses have similar characteristics in some ways and not others. Some, it's very obvious that it's a specialty lens, and some, it's not so obvious. And so I think a lot of times when we get into this instance of just dismissing a piece of glass just simply because, oh, well, I read online it's clinical and everyone will judge me. The reality of the situation is they're not really going to judge you for what lens you have unless you tell them. At the end of the day, you could post some really great looking footage and no one's going to know it's on the Zeiss lenses. Now, don't get me wrong. I own the Zeiss, so I've shot on them for considerably longer than I've shot on any of these other lenses, and the Zeiss lenses do have some challenges. One, chromatic aberration is a total pain in the butt. It is really not my favorite thing. However, I did notice some aberration on some of the other lenses, not as bad as we got on these. And if you notice in this test, we did not get any, which I thought was pretty telling. So again, chromatic aberration, yes, it can be a problem, but sometimes it can work in your favor. It's usually from bright light sources. So consider that idea that in this instance, we don't have any aberration, so it would be a little bit difficult. And maybe if you wanted to soften these lenses, one way I would approach that is in DaVinci, right? So inside of DaVinci, when you're doing your grade, you can actually soften that stuff up by taking some detail away. And maybe with those specific lenses, if you wanted to on the Zeiss lenses, just soften them a little more. Now, what I prefer when I shoot Zeiss lenses is I typically fly a 8th Black Pro Mist. I've talked about this before. I like to put an 8th Black Pro Mist in front of it, and I really feel like it makes those lenses shine in a way that is fantastic. And a lot of times, again, award-winning work that we've created has been on those lenses. So at the end of the day, again, I think it comes down to your ability as a DP, as a director, as a cinematographer, whatever you want to call yourself, videographer. It's your skill set in lighting, shot composition, and the production value you're going to bring. Just saying something is more or less clinical or more or less cinematic is stupid. At the end of the day, it really comes down to all the components together that make something stand out. So let us know in the comments if these results changed your mind or shifted your focus or maybe awakened you to the idea that you are the real tool that makes things happen. And the lens and the camera and whatever the film stock is, at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to you. You are the person behind the lens. You are the person that's creating that image. And the great part about understanding that about yourself is you can push yourself to get better. And that is something I am striving for every single day. I'm working on it. You can work on it. We can do it together. If you've not liked, subscribed, or done whatever the button clicks, bells, and all that stuff, please do so. If you like this kind of content, we'll have more coming out. Again, that Super 35 test will be up next. And I am stoked to share that with you because I feel like it is really, it's kind of excited me about going back to Super 35. I've been on full frame for a little while and I kind of just miss just how soft and pretty. And frankly, I know I'm gonna I'm gonna argue with myself here or whatever, but like, I kind of feel like Super 35 does feel a little more cinematic. Maybe because it feels more intimate, I don't know. Maybe it was the subject, maybe it was the moment, but I really like it. So again, thanks for hanging out with us, and just remember, my friends, stay shooting.